Welcome to the Estonian General Intelligence Podcast. Today is my great privilege and pleasure to welcome to the podcast Agu Sorainen.
Thank you, Lembit.
Thank you for being here. And Agu is the founder and senior partner of Sorainen Law Firm. And I'm really looking forward to having the discussion and the road that Sorainen has had in the Baltics and being part of the legal ecosystem, digital ecosystem, and so many other things. So maybe to get started, Agu, if you could give like a, 2-minute overview of the journey that has gotten you here. I have to say that knowing you, I know how big of a task that is because there is so many interesting things to discuss.
So 2 minutes. I studied in the University of Lapland by the Arctic Circle. I studied law in the end of 80s, and when the Baltic countries became independent in 1991, I thought that this would be a great adventure to study the business laws of the 3 Baltic states. And I started to travel here, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and then I realized that this is going to be a challenging task because there's so much information available in English. So I went to the big Finnish corporation and I asked them to sponsor my thesis, and to my great surprise they did, because nobody in Finland knew anything about these countries. And in the course of my thesis, this corporation asked me to expand it. So I did this thesis for a year and a half full time and expanding from corporate law to real estate law, employment law, and so on and so forth, all what these corporations were interested in. But when I graduated, I had established myself a name in Finland as a lawyer who knows something about this region. And I started to get calls, and because I started to get calls and requests to advise these companies, I decided to move here and start to practice law. And 2 years, first I established one small medium-sized law firm here, and then I started my own office 30 years ago, in September 1995. And this has been quite a journey, and I would say the first turning point was that we very rapidly started in these 3 Baltic states, 2 years after Estonia in Latvia, 2 years later in Lithuania. But around the year 2000, I realized that we are going to fall apart because nobody knows what it means to run a law firm. I didn't have experience, nobody else had experience. We were in 3 countries. And then I realized that we need to have clear processes, how we work and what are the client journey coming to Sorainen, and how do we service the client, what are the quality standards. And that was a long work. It took us about 6-7 years to document all our working processes, just to write them down. And that led to us obtaining this ISO quality management system. And this gave a foundation for being an organized and disciplined organization. And that has now actually grown into anything what we do. We have processes. When we start to do something, we figure out what is the best practice of doing things, and then we can focus the organization at doing things in a structured, disciplined manner. And I would say that this is very different, perhaps what we typically see in law firms. Maybe those, let's say, very established, mature law firms in the Western Europe are pretty similar with this, but I mean, we have been building this very on our own from the scratch during these couple of decades, and more or less only during the past 15 years we have learned to understand what it means to lead a law firm, and that has been a great journey and very humbling road to learn to do what we are doing today. And surprisingly well it has done. We are now 300 lawyers, 400 people all in these 3 jurisdictions. I mean, We are constantly top tier rank almost at everything what we do. We were just 2 weeks ago, we received this merger market CEE M&A law firm of the year 2025, which is a great recognition. I mean, we are from the small Baltics, but I mean, we were considering the major, most active mergers acquisition law firm in the whole Central Eastern Europe, according to statistics, how much we are doing that work. Our lawyers, our dispute partners are constantly appearing before the European Court. I mean, I'm very proud to say that we have built a very, very top-notch law firm here in the small Baltics that is working across the Europe.
Very impressive. And I do have to say that I've started quite a few of my discussions with congratulations. And I was actually a bit puzzled that when I looked at all the awards that you've gotten and recognition, it is always so impressive that I actually failed to pick one. But thank you for bringing this one out. It is your journey is very, very impressive, and for the listeners, it's for me it's also impressive to see Agu's humbleness on considering the position and the breadth and depth of the environment and activities that Sorainen is engaged in. So it's been very impressive. And when I was kind of looking back at your journey, and as Sorainen, there were kind of three things that stood out. And one was really, you already mentioned the quality processes, and I'm kind of assuming that was quite unusual for an Estonian law firm or the Baltic law firm to go so deep into the quality processes. Already, was it in the late 90s?
Well, we started 2000 and
okay.
Yeah, about 25 years ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But still, quite impressive. And yes, go.
Yeah, it was, as mentioned, it was a very important thing for us because not having a legacy processes or even a corporate culture at that point. So every country and every team started to kind of float on their own direction. So the way to bring the whole firm back to operating in one integrated way was to start from how we are working and writing it down and then expecting that everybody works the way how we have documented it. And it was another process to get everybody to work to follow these processes, but by time we have been managed to do it. And the same integration has been interesting elements to it. Of course, I mean, kind of a starting point for being an integrated firm is that we have one profit pool. We are sharing one profit of the whole firm between the partners of it, regardless which country they are in. But being in this one profit pool, it also enables us to build economies of scale in many different ways. We can start, I think our business services are a great example that we don't have kind of 3 teams of business services in 3 countries where we are, but we have one pool of business services and people locate in different offices depending what they are doing. And if somebody leaves, we need to replace somebody in the business services team. We don't need to look at necessarily from that same country. We can look at across the whole region where we find the best talent. And this has brought a lot of efficiencies and economies of scale on, again, how we work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that was the second part that I was about to get to, which is actually consolidating the activities and then the focus across the 3 countries immediately to work as one unit. And that has also been quite impressive. And the third part is actually using data and using information and using the systems. You can elaborate on that journey a bit as well.
Yeah, that started about 28 years ago when we had our second office in Latvia in 1997. Then we realized that we need an IT system that helps us to see what kind of work they are doing in Latvia so that we can manage conflicts of interest here in Estonia and vice versa. and what kind of cross-selling opportunities we have if we have similar clients in both offices. And we needed a system, we needed data. At that time, we didn't find really anything for law firms that would have been ready-made. But by accident, we found one CRM program that was flexible enough that one of our lawyers, Kaido Law, who is a very good code writer on top of being an excellent lawyer, he started to develop the CRM platform into a full-fledged practice management system for law firm. And that was a very interesting period. So we were constantly thinking that what kind of processes we need, how the IT system helps us to accomplish these processes, supports the processes. And about 10 years ago, when this legacy IT system, what we had, became obsolete, we had to find a modern cloud-based solution. Then we thought that it is no longer needed to build something on your own. Let's now buy something what is the best in the market. And we looked at what is the best in the UK, in the USA, in continental Europe. And we saw that none of those platforms actually were good enough for us because they were just focusing on the financial management. And our own created platform was the whole process from client intake to case management, time entry, CRM, collaboration, and then finally financial management. So we realized that we cannot buy anything from the market. That would mean many steps back for us. So we have to develop it ourselves again from the scratch. And that we did about 8 years ago. And then eventually 3 years ago, we realized that what we have now built is actually working so well for us in all different jurisdictions where we are, that why not to scale it? Why not make a commercial version for other law firms as well, who are not directly competing with us? And that's what we did. It took us 2 years again to build everything from the scratch, which is a scalable, modern, cloud-based SaaS solution. And we first enrolled actually a year ago, we got one small firm in Ukraine as a first client, but the real commercial version, matured commercial version came out this September, which Sorainen was able to use and became the first major client. Now we are onboarding the next major clients and we have very good pipeline of firms now enrolling into this system. And I'm very happy to see actually that something what we have created, how we understand how a modern law firm should work, should manage its data, what is the best practice in collecting what kind of data, is actually not only important for us, but it seems that there is a lot of demand among other law firms who want to build a more modern approach to data.
Yes, and it's quite interesting. And you forgot to mention AI native in the description of Christmas, which is quite an impressive aspect. Well, but I think we'll come back to the AI stuff a bit later. But now, as the podcast is Estonian General Intelligence and kind of covering the Estonian experience in this digital journey, from starting from nothing and then becoming one of the leading digital nations in the world. If we take a bit broader view in those 30 years, it's not only the advancements and developments within Sorainen, but how would you see that actually the development in Estonia and from the two aspects? One, the technological aspects of how the country has advanced, how the e-governance systems have advanced, how companies operate and communicate with themselves, but also the legal structure supporting it, the legislation, the different rules and regulations and agreements, how those have been in balance.
That's a good question. I mean, Estonia, there was President Ilves back then as a Minister of Foreign Affairs in the mid-1990s, was one of the key founders of this Tiger Leap a project, which meant that all schools had a computer class. And that happened, so we started to have a lot of technologically literate young people in this country already from the 1990s. At the same time, because we have so few people here in Estonia, and the whole administration was basically replaced during the 1990s. So most of the Soviet time bureaucrats and political leaders, administration leaders, they were replaced, and that led to a big demand of skillful people here. And because there was this huge demand for skillful people in the modern Estonian society without the Soviet heritage, that also led to the demand to create as little bureaucracy as possible, where this e-governance was very well supporting it. Now things have a little bit changed since. And there are now two paths in the Estonian society. One is what is happening in the public administration, and the other element, what's happening in the private economy. In the private economy, we know that we have this number of unicorns here. We have a great ecosystem for startup ecosystem. But in the public administration, if you look, yes, we have this one road digital Estonia, which is a really exemplary product and platform how to digitalize public services. But at the same time, we see that this back then a young generation in 1990s of people in the public administration, that team has constantly grown, and there is no such push to replace them as was in the 1990s when we had to replace this kind of Soviet people with modern people. So now we are creating a little bit, it's not yet such a monster that what we see in Western Europe when it comes to public administration, but we are taking the same path. We are creating bureaucracy which starts to feed bureaucracy and rather than reduce it. There currently is a Prime Minister's initiative to simplify regulation, to reduce bureaucracy, but it is just shows how actually the problem already is here, that the Prime Minister needs to set up this kind of a think tank, how to reduce bureaucracy in the country. And that is quite a dangerous part, that we are pretty orthodox on applying new regulation constantly and giving, let's say, private businesses, private people pretty much hard time of not following the bureaucracy. And that has been a worrying trend. And I don't know if this technology development and AI doesn't immediately solve it. It's in the people's heads. But if we manage not to grow the bureaucracy and maybe not to grow the amount of people in the public administration, then they are forced to become more efficient. When it comes to the private sector, this ecosystem, what we have in Estonia, that is a fantastic advantage, and the kind of a mindset of Estonian private companies, private sector in general, to digitalize. And I guess we still are quite much ahead of many other continental European countries, probably even ahead of many US, kind of a standard US corporations, if you exclude the Silicon Valley and and the IT cluster on its own right. So this is a very good thing for Estonia and all 3 Baltic states going forward.
Do you see a significant difference in the way of working, just on everyday tasks and the contract negotiations, document sharing, things like this, between the companies from Estonia, Nordics, Western Europe, rest of the world? Do you see actually differences in the best practices or habits there?
Do you mean law firms?
Law firms or the customers that you service?
No, I can talk mainly about the law firms. We today are, let's say, if I take just Sorainen, I would say that in many aspects we have been quite much ahead of the curve in utilizing different technologies and especially paying a lot of attention to knowledge management, building a knowledge management team already over 10 years ago here, 15 years ago. We haven't really, there is a big hype now regarding AI currently, so many big foreign law firms have been utilizing a few, namely Harvey and Legora named AI platforms for document analyzing starting from last year. We have not yet implemented those 2 platforms, so in this AI part we maybe are a little bit behind. Maybe we are maybe 1 year behind on taking either of those platforms. But at the same time, everybody is using Copilot here. Most are using privately ChatGPT. I'm using nowadays either Copilot or ChatGPT more than I use Google. And so in that sense, we are learning how to use AI tools. We are learning even different AI platforms, which are better for which things. So that I guess that if I talk to colleagues in other European countries, I would say that in general these public tools, we are at least on par with them, if not even a little bit more advanced.
I really want to jump into this. You said that AI is hype. Do you really feel that?
It is in the sense that when these AI tools were enrolled, now mainly I talk about Harvey and Legora, which are the big names in the legal world, many lawyers expected that document drafting becomes now very easy. And they started with not very well structured databases in their own law firms. And what happens when you start to do document drafting, these AI platforms, they ask you to drop in, upload the kind of a starting point document. So you have to upload something, and then the AI helps you to amend it. But if you don't have very high quality starting point, then you end up doing a lot of prompting and wasting a lot of time without getting really a standard outcome, what you would like, or high quality outcome. And I just saw some statistics about the usage of AI tools for different purposes in 2024 and 2025. So most of the things, the use of AI has increased in 2025, except one. And that one was document drafting. That had declined. So meaning 2024, there was still this hype expectation that for document drafting, AI will make a big difference. And in 2025, there's a kind of sobering moment that it actually doesn't. And now the question boils down to how to get the very high quality starting point. And this requires data structuring. This requires that you have the top quality, let's say, template or master template to start with. And the best way to get this top quality starting point actually is document automation. And we've been doing here document automation now for 8 years. It's very burdensome. It requires a lot of a senior lawyer time and attention to pool all the firm know-how into one place and then create the master template with all these different choices so that you can go down ticking the boxes and making selections what you want to have in the contract and what not. But once you go through this ticking, then you get a first draft, which is of high quality and which includes all your firm's know-how. And if you then put that one into the AI tool and start to amend it as based on the negotiations or based on how the deal should be finalized, then you will see a much better result than otherwise. And basically document automation means that every time you tick a box, basically that equals to a prompt. But it is just pre-made formula of prompts. And I find this interesting that we are basically now back to the basics, understanding that AI will help us if we have done our own homework first.
Mm-hmm. I would only amend it that AI actually helps with the homework quite a bit as well.
No, it does, and you can use AI in automating.
Yes.
AI will help you to automate the document to find out that what are the questions and choices you should do. But this is something you don't have time to do that when you are in the middle of servicing a client. You have to take time to prepare yourself.
So it's a balancing act.
It's you have.
This one is actually to be interesting to hear your one experience, but also you made some strong choices. I mean, implementing ISO, it was a strong choice between, balancing servicing the customers and, driving billable hours versus actually making sure that everything is properly structured, documented, and everybody follows the process. And how have you kind of personally or in your role in Sorainen kind of balance those two aspects?
Yeah, another good question. So my role as a law firm leader which is maybe a little bit different from many other law firm leaders I have encountered in Europe, is that the law firm leaders tend to be very, very much involved in client work. And then they take, so to say, with the left hand focus on developing their own law firm. I have always thought that it is a best, so to say, return on the investment if I focus my time on developing Sorainen. And sometimes, let's say with the left hand, if the clients really want me to help them, service them, then I can do it. But my main focus is on thinking how to develop Sorainen. And so far so good. I mean, looking at how we have been doing. So choices. It is about setting priorities, and my priority has always been to build an organization, sustainable, resilient organization.
Interesting. And have kind of so many management questions to it. When you look at the competitors or different companies or different law firms, how common is that the senior partner actually focuses on building the firm? Because kind of when looking from the outside, I see that very many law firms have started from the standpoint that people have become successful in one law firm, and then they're very successful, and then they branch out and they create their own law firm, where they are the superstars and superstars for the customers. How common is it that then those people make the switch to, okay, now I just take my focus into managing the firm myself?
Yes, it is a bit a different journey. I mean, my role being a founder. So I mean, this may be also a little bit, so to say, different mindset for me than somebody who would be an elected leader, and I'm also, of course, elected by the partnership, but somebody who is elected for, let's say, certain temporary period of time, because then they usually law firm leaders, they have a very strong business case servicing clients, then they go up the ranks in the law firm hierarchy because they are excellent lawyers servicing the client, generating a lot of revenue. Then they are elected as a leader for certain years, and then they come back to servicing the clients. So it is a challenge for many of those law firm leaders that while they are in this leadership role, they don't want to lose the client part because they know that one day they will be back in servicing the clients, not leading the law firm. So that has been a little bit different for me because I have built my career is building this firm. So I'm not, so to say, on the way going back to the client work.
And now moving forward with building this firm, these days that as you have very good management systems that you've invested in, that you've also branched out in offering the same kind of knowledge and expertise to the other law firms, and at the same time looking at also development with the technology and with the AI developments and things like this. So how close is Sorainen going into a fully agentic mode, or getting AI lawyers as part of the organization, or collaborating with the machine intelligence?
Yes, the future is very exciting. I see there are two roads now what we have to look very closely utilizing AI in going forward. One is how we provide the legal service to our clients, and how does that influence them, so to say, the legal advice, the product. The other element is our internal processes. How we run the firm, how we work, how we, let's say, collect data about the business we have, how we analyze the data. And both of these need to be maintained and developed at the same time. Currently, when we look at what kind of solutions are there in the market for law firms, they tend to be solutions regarding this legal advice. So it's document analyzing, it's about tools for research, tools for document drafting, and this is where almost every bigger law firm is currently paying a lot of attention to and investing into it. So same as we are as well, and training our people into this next year more than ever. The other element is about these internal processes. We come into, and here comes into the play Crespect, what is our legal tech spin-off company. So Crespect is a tool for entering data and entering much more different type of data that law firms typically collect and harvest. And because law firms typically don't harvest and collect that kind of data, then they cannot analyze it. But we have been doing it already now for 15, 20 years. So we have a lot of different type of data from how we work, what we work with, how much time we spend for different elements of our work, what do we know about our clients, what have we been learning while servicing our clients. And now we will have these AI tools to analyze this data. And this is very, very exciting for me because it provides a much quicker return on the investment, what you have done in harvesting the data in the first place. So the question is that which of these lines provides bigger impact on the revenue of the law firm? So most likely it is this element of what is the AI, implying AI on the legal service, on the legal product as such. So how to reduce the cost and how to reduce the human element, how to increase the quality and speed of it. But the other element also has a significant potential for increasing the revenue as we learn to know the clients better. We learn to identify cross-selling opportunities better. We learn to set priorities that which clients we should invest more, which maybe less. We learn to understand better how to budget things, how to budget our work, how to utilize internal research resources better, and circulate, recycle the lessons learned while servicing the clients. So both of these are hugely important element, and also actually reducing the risks when it comes to managing our internal processes. So both of these are very important elements to take care of. But in this second pillar, which I just mentioned about, there are not many tools around currently. This is not really where this AI boom for law firms is currently focusing at. And the reason being that most law firms don't have data. And why would you build tools if you don't have data? And here comes the respect into play again, that this is the tool and this is what we have been doing for 28 years and we know it works.
But this is the interesting future that I kind of see in this. One of the, talking points that I'm increasingly having is that, Estonia as a country, considering it has quite strong e-governance systems, it has very well structured data, it has high quality data and high quality information, and that keeps building on it from everyday use of the different systems, that I think we're in very well positioned to have a very efficient agentic government where, agents do a lot of the work and take over the knowledge work or the government officials' work. And then we can start providing the services. We've had very great success with the residency program, with the opening it up to the citizens of foreign countries or other countries to become e-residents of Estonia. And now I'm actually curious whether, and then kind of promoting that, should the next step be kind of the e-agents or Estonia agents, that, if, the goal of Taavi Kotka, ex-CIO of Estonian government, and this kind of the father of the e-residency program, was to have 10 million e-residents, to be added to the 1.3 million Estonians that we have. And my question is, should we have 100 million Estonian agents? And here, this is kind of the same way. I'm still kind of trying to push and nudge and get this question of, at what point will be, the 400 people working for Sorainen, at what point will be there, 1,000 or 5,000 Sorainen e-lawyers or AI lawyers working?
Good question. I have not yet been thinking of this for Sorainen to let's say purely service our clients with technology. I'm sure that we will have this consideration maybe already next year. Maybe there are some kind of a subscription-based services what can be offered, and actually what have been offered already by some other law firms in elsewhere. As a law firm, Sorainen is still very much focusing on the high end of the legal work, on the more complex type of work, which does require a lot of senior lawyers' attention. And I would think that for our firm currently, as I see it today, AI will be the helper. It will make the work faster, of higher quality, maybe to an extent also cheaper, because it's faster. But it will not replace the, so to say, brilliant minds. I've been using a lot of, I don't say that I'm the brilliant mind here, but I've been using, I have been using a lot of Copilot and ChatGPT in my work during this year. I've been using much less, let's say, young lawyers for research than I used to do earlier, because it's so easy to use this AI tool for research and to help you to formulate the advice, but it still requires a mind behind. It doesn't do anything on its own.
How much is the AI or the AI wave affecting already kind of hiring principles or retraining or reskilling questions. I'm assuming that you have quite a strong training program for the employees, and how do you see that? How fast are the AI topics and technology topics coming into those programs?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, already is. I mean, AI is, and the kind of a usage of our technology is part of everything. Even for many years, we have already had the Sorainen onboarding training for all newcomers. It's a 5-week online training on about the processes, about the culture, about the tools, about everything. And it's pretty interesting because it's online, so people do it when they have time to do it. And this kind of a training also will increase more towards on-demand training. On-demand training when they start to work with something, that what are the best practices on doing that kind of work, and obviously technology has an increase of element on this on-demand training as well.
Excellent. But maybe if we would take a bit of different view or perspective, one of the goals of the podcast is to share this Estonian experience and how it can be beneficial for the organization or countries that are kind of starting maybe on the same journey. So looking back at those 30 years that you've seen, how the legal environment, the legal profession has developed in Estonia, and as Estonia as a state and Estonia as a digital nation has developed. For a country or a law firm in a country that is not quite as developed and then maybe is in kind of the same place where Estonia was 30 years ago, what would be your advice or guidance of what to pay attention to today with the knowledge that you have today, and also considering the changing technical climate?
Well, just if I compare,
the legal environment.
No, if I just compare, for example, Estonia with Finland, back in the early 90s, when let's say big databases already became a topic, and public services, digital public services, in Finland it was an important topic that all different databases should be separated from each other for data privacy reasons. So every, let's say, ministerium, they build their own databases using different platforms, different software than the other ministeriums. And Estonia chose a very different ideology. Estonia chose a starting point where basically all databases are integrated. And for data privacy purposes, they only track who is let's say, accessing the data. So you always leave a stamp, and if you have accessing some data without authorization, then there will be consequences. Now this is, I think, is a very brilliant idea to integrate all the databases, understanding, let's say, there is a risk of data privacy, but at the same time this again helps to build the economies of scale, how we run the data, what we do with the data. Whereas Finland has had a lot of problems now integrating these different databases and to actually create digital services because of integration issues. And then you go to Germany, you go to USA, and you see that people don't even want to have an identity card because they don't want to share their identity with any system. No, and I understand this is for data privacy reasons. I think that we have been able to educate our people that it is for their own benefit and benefit of the society that actually we have a digital identity. We have identity card. We go with our digital identity into using the services, and the state sees what its citizens need. So this is a both technological, let's say, aspect, but it is also cultural aspect. Do you agree that your data is being managed and stored by the state?
I'm guessing legal aspect as well, how it's actually controlled and then how it's...
How it is controlled, how it is used. I mean, there are, of course, countries that by nature, like Germany, I mean, of course, they have still this heritage from the Second World War, where there was, let's say, secret police or Gestapo, I mean, which was tracking down citizens. So they still have hesitations of being in the systems. Maybe same is in Russia. I mean, you don't want KGB to run after you, and better not to be in the system. So
yes, there is definitely kind of historical and cultural and other aspects that come into the play, and also just the trust of the government and trust of the technology and an understanding of how the technology works. Because the technologists and me very often in those discussions that I have that we don't want to have a national ID or something like this. I'm like, but you do understand that in order to connect two sets of data, you need to have some kind of identifier how to bring them together that you can find from both the databases. And whether that's a national ID or in many African countries, I see that's actually a mobile phone number increasingly used. That you have the same authentication that you need to have in you provide your passport or identity card to get the mobile number, to register a mobile number, and then you do all your mobile banking activities and other activities or government services based on that ID. It's fine, whatever number you choose. But you need to have this identifier and then a way to integrate.
So is it in Africa that it's not necessarily registered by name but by number?
It's you access many of the services by phone number.
So the services don't necessarily know your name; they know just the phone number.
It is connected to your name.
Yeah, it's true.
But as far as a number, it's not a national ID number. It's more they everywhere use your.
Okay, I understand. So this is
identifying number is phone number, and then connected to it is your name, is your profession, and the emails and other aspects.
So it's not like in Switzerland back in the days that you would just have a number account in the bank. So this is not where Africa is going.
Yes. Well, this is actually an interesting the aspect that the Africa is bypassing many of the same way Estonia bypassed many the steps in the legal or legacy environments that we right when we were starting to develop our systems. Internet technologies and computing the overall became more popular. And Estonia made that decision that will be internet first. We'll start connecting the systems and we'll have the national ID, and then we have the interoperability systems to do all of this. In Africa, they're bypassing certain steps as well. For example, in the banking environment, they're not building up banking branches. They're using mobile money systems and MoMA systems. And having lived there for a couple of years, I actually really enjoyed having the mobile money system. Yeah, because I don't have a card. I don't have something that can be copied, that can be stolen. I go somewhere to pay for the service. There is a code. I type in this code. I type in the number that I want to pay to that code. I type in my PIN. Done. It's all in my pocket in my account. Never leaving it, and I don't need to do any NFC transaction or anything. It's fast, convenient, and many other aspects there as well in providing the services.
So your phone recognizes you in Africa. Does it need face recognition, or you need a PIN just to get into your phone? So if you
you use the fingerprint or a PIN to get in, or the face recognition, you authenticate yourself to the phone anyway. Kind of the same way that we use for the back that for the credit cards that use the NFC system.
Of course.
But there it's there's two aspects over there. Is that many of the things you just do with the number codes. And the part of the reason is that not very many people have smartphones. So you cannot have the system actually based just on the smartphone. And of course, literacy becomes an issue as well, that if people don't know how to read, write, they don't know how to use the phones, the systems, the phones are expensive. But if you can use and do everything with just the phone with the buttons, that increases the reach and your capability to provide those services. And there are other cases, and I think in every one of the podcasts, I always keep bringing this example that in Ronda, there are very interesting developments with actually providing the government services with using the Kina Ronda chatbots, and that there is an AI that you talk to. And so you only use with the buttons, you log in, you identify yourself with the PIN, and then you can speak with Kina Ronda language.
Okay.
I want to pay taxes for my, last week corn sales. And you can do that. And that actually opens and broadens it, the access to the people.
So without needing to read and write.
Well, yes. I mean, it's still beneficial, and of course, they're working very hard in bridging the gap and increasing literacy in the countries, and also technological literacy, and also having access to the equipment and things like this. But these are kind of the steps to get there.
Okay.
And I think it's a different standing point. But for me, it's actually the interesting part. There is also the using of the AI for the Kina Ronda language chatbot, and making sure that you can actually have that conversation with the computer, so you don't need to have, hundreds and thousands of phone operators they're responding to.
Very interesting.
And I mean, the other part, they also have a very interesting. They have this agent network that you have people in the villages and the cities and all this, where you can come have a conversation, and who can actually support you with e-government services. That actually have the same access to the internet, and then they will do everything electronic that is available. If you have the equipment and you're capable of doing it, you can do it all yourself.
Yeah.
You also have agents who can support the people who are not quite there yet. So it's quite interesting. But still curious, if we take a little bit kind of broader view, how do you feel this integration and cooperation with machine intelligence? I'm a big proponent that AGI is pretty much here, and this collaboration, or it's increasingly more a collaboration with another intelligence rather than just using a certain piece of technology or technological tools to advancing our. How do you feel about that? Is there something that keeps you up at night worried, or is there something that is really exciting for you?
I'm very excited about it. I think this is a great tool for us to make our work better. I mean, there's a big element of lawyers' work is not only to understand the law and be able to advise based on law, but there's a role of, let's say, kind of a psychological element to it, to help clients make business decisions, helping clients in negotiations, help understanding, so to say, bigger context beyond the law. And this is something what I don't foresee AI to replace within the next couple of years at least. But on the way progressing, I mean, these are fantastic tools which we should constantly learn better and better. I mean, what's the first thing what's happening is that still a year ago, there was a lot of effort in law firms put into prompt engineering. And lawyers were put into classes to learn to make very complicated prompts. And now what happens is that these platforms, they have been learning gradually to understand what a lawyer maybe needs. And it is much easier to make useful prompts now than last year. And if you put, let's say, the right settings, the tool will ask you more specific questions about what do you actually need. So essentially it means that this year using these AI tools is much easier than last year. And on top of this, these AI tools are much more matured. There's much more, let's say, data what these AI tools are running with than last year. So constantly it becomes easier. So maybe next year already we just need to give a little hint to the AI tool, and it starts to understand what we probably need and want. And that's very exciting for me.
I increasingly use AI itself to create the prompt. That before starting to kind of even work on a prompt, I'll first say that I want to do this, just give me a good prompt.
Yes.
And then I'll continue actually improving that prompt or having a conversation around that prompt and then letting it work. And it is getting smarter and smarter and then scary smart. I would even have to say. So this is definitely. But is there something that you're worried about?
I don't really think what I'm worried about. I mean, of course, let's say a big thing for us is the data privacy, that our client data will remain confidential if we use it in this AI system. No, I can Copilot today confirms that it is a safe environment for client-sensitive data. Now there's a new Chat GPT Business Pro, which promises the same, that it's siloed data, same with this Harvey and Legora. So I guess these AI engines increasingly are able to create products where we don't, where they stay confidential.
Yes, I think increasingly that is becoming more enterprise ready also from the security and privacy standpoint. And then my common advice first is to companies that if you don't have the company agreement, or if you don't have an agreed licensing model that you actually let your employees to use, that's your biggest risk of data moving out of the company. Because people are comfortable. People will use their personal accounts to get a lot of work done. So if you don't have the way, and then I really advise to have it structured and then controlled, and also having the common language and the common kind of knowledge on how to utilize those systems.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a very, very valid point. And as I said, myself, of course, I'm quite more of course, as I said, that I am very interested in this relationship with this machine intelligence, and actually advancing that relationship and kind of getting to know that side of the intelligence, and what are the capabilities and what are the advances coming from there, and how those will complement actually the human life and the interaction between the two. And I do have a question, and we can actually leave it out if you want, because it's a bit of a challenging question. But if I do look at the legal world, I had the pleasure of participating in one of the Respect podcasts about a month ago. And in preparing to this podcast, a couple key points that came up. One was that considering the fact that ChatGPT passed the bar exams in US with the better results than lawyers, or better results than a human already at the end of the last year. And the other part of it is that now the latest GPT 2, GPT 5.2, does 70% of the common knowledge work and 10 times faster than the humans can do it. How are those things affecting the legal industry? And from kind of the two aspects, it's like the computers will be at one point be able to get legal advice faster from the machine intelligence. How is that affecting? And the other part of it is the efficiency. I say that the people who are using effectively AI tools today, language models and everything, they are already 2-3 times more efficient than the people are. And considering that the legal industry is famous for being hourly billable, how is that actually affecting the business model of the legal industry?
No, it certainly does. We come back to it, whether AI will replace lawyers. I mean, of course, you can upload all the laws and all the precedents to the AI, and AI will help you to understand and analyze the law, and much faster than lawyers can do. But I mean, remember 25 years ago when we started to first talk about Google doctors. And now when people started to Google their diseases and health issues, it didn't replace doctors. Or later now when people can go with their health issues to the AI and get a lot of advice from AI regarding their health, has that reduced the number of doctors? Not necessarily. Maybe people are better prepared to go to ask more specific questions from the doctor than earlier. Maybe people don't go with the most, let's say, simplest things they have in their health to the doctor. Maybe AI will help some self-remedies easier. And certainly this is the same case with law, that in the most easiest things, people don't need to come to a lawyer anymore. They get a quick reply from the tool itself. But when you have complex issues, like what we deal with at Sorainen every day, and when the business interest is, let's say, tens of millions or sometimes hundreds of millions, why would a client want to save, let's say, few thousands or some tens of thousands of euros of our service if the risk is 100 million? Most likely the risk isn't worth it. Very often today what we actually see is that when we provide some advice or document to the client puts it into an AI tool, asks the AI tool to analyze our advice, and then they send their comments to us back, which is not their own comments, it's how the AI commented on our advice. And a lot of time this is a complete rubbish, what comes back, how the AI analyzes it and comments. A lot of it is pure rubbish. Today. Maybe next year is quality is much better, but this is where we are today.
Okay. And let's see. We covered quite a bit of ground already. The establishment of the company, coming Baltic, using the technology, using all the other aspects. How do you see that the legal environment needs to change and to be ready for more AI? Will it be giving more agency to the computers? What will happen when the AI agents will start transacting business? Taking ownership of the activities. I think with self-driving cars, it's already a question of the responsibility. How big of a change or wave of change do you see coming there?
I think the biggest issue where we struggle today is the access to justice. And that the court, for solving disputes and court processes, they take much too long time and cost too much. The whole long process with what it all takes. So I think this is the first way how the AI in the legal aspects could help the societies to improve the access to justice, reduce the court processes. And this would actually mean that the judges would start to use AI tools. And there are some very good tools already available. One is Fair Arbit. It's a Finnish made AI tool by one of my ex-colleague, and it is trained on the Finnish law. And it basically makes you submit in the court documents into the system from both sides of the dispute, and it makes the draft court decision with all references to the law, even to, let's say, highly respected legal authorities, professors, on what they have been thinking of the topic. And that's a fantastic starting point, especially for, let's say, if the courts are today burdened with a pretty simple disputes and processes, administrative processes, if we could automate these, so to say, low-value disputes, administrative processes, even criminal processes to a large extent, that would hugely increase the access to justice and make it much more affordable than what it is today.
Okay. So you see that there is still ways to go in providing access to justice and efficiencies.
Yes.
And to make sure that everybody's needs and
Yes.
and interests are covered and protected.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look how the judges work today, I was talking with one judge a couple of years ago and here in Estonia, and judges didn't even share their own files with the other judges. So basically every judge was making their own decisions from the scratch. Instead of having some kind of a pool, knowledge sharing pool between the judges, that they could copy paste each other's precedents, they didn't have that. I mean, it's a complete waste of resources and waste of know-how, lack of managing know-how, what is currently happening in the court system. So that's much bigger of a, let's say, leap forward than let's say, sophisticated law firms, how they are managing knowledge today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if we take a look into the future, if you would like, if you would envision Sorainen in 10 years, and the technological advancements and everything, what do you see?
I see bright minds working with different AI tools, different technology, and people being much more enthusiastic about their technology in all levels than maybe they today are. Not everybody is very enthusiastic of technology. Some are much more than the others. So I expect in 10 years, everybody to be very sophisticated in using technology of that time.
Absolutely. Now we covered a lot of ground over here. Is there something that you feel that we didn't cover that's important in this discussion?
No, I think you had a very good prepared question. So thank you, Lembit, for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much, Ago. It was a great pleasure.